with me.
Woo, some more exciting, fiery moments from last night's debate. Let's talk more about it, shall we? Joining me now, he's an author and social media influencer, along with being a board member of Black Voices for Trump. I know you know my next guest, David Harris Jr. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing amazing, my brother. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great, brother. I do miss your hat, though. I'm used to seeing you in all of your infamous videos on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook with either a MAGA or a Trump hat, and you hopping on an airplane, flying across our country, and either getting cheers and claps or a lot of grief. And I got to say, thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be able to do it. You know, I used to get a lot more crazy looks than I have of recent. Recently, I get a lot more thumbs up, a lot of people that say they love my hat, but I feel like it's my duty to show the world that Black Trump supporters do exist. And I've had some pretty amazing conversations with individuals that ask me why I support the president, and I love to give them answers. So it's fun, but I always wear my hats when I'm traveling.
So, David, Real America just came to OAN a couple of weeks ago, and I've been asking this of all of my guests, if they are of color, if they are of a maybe even different party, different gender. I like to point it out for everyone, even though I hate that the left and the media loves to label us, but we got to break the narrative. So let's get it on the record. You, sir, are Black, correct?
I am a part of the Black community,
okay.
Yes.
You, sir, are voting for President Trump, not Joe Biden, even though he says you're not Black if you don't vote for him.
110% voting for Trump again. I voted for him last year. I'm going to vote for him again this year.
We're good. That's good. I just want to get that out of the way. I just had to get that on the record to break the narrative, like you just said. We have to break this stigma that only a bunch of racist old white people vote for the president. That's the narrative being spewed out there. So talk to folks about your group, Black Voices for Trump. You're on the board of that. Explain how it came to be and what your mission is.
Well, like this president has done, I think he identifies individual groups of people that have been waylaid by the Democrat Party. They try to use identity politics. They try to call this president a racist. I had several individuals, Katrina Pearson of one, that's kind of started the Black Voices for Trump group that began to reach out to a lot of us influencers that have videos that go crazy on social media. And they said, we'd like to pull together as a group of Black individuals that show support for this president, that know the facts, so that we can, rally the troops and we can be a presence on social media that does defy the narrative that the mainstream media, the liberal mainstream media, continues to purport that this president's racist. So we get to go to some of the rallies. I don't get paid to be a part of that group. I pay my way to most things. Sometimes they'll at least cover the cost of travel, but it's an honor to be able to represent this president and be a complete defiance to the narrative that he's. I've met the president 9 or 10 times. I should know exactly, but I've met him 9 or 10 times. I've met racist people. You can tell when somebody doesn't like you just when they first look at you. You can feel when somebody doesn't like you, but they're trying to act like they're not bothered by you. I've met racist people. There's not a racist bone in Donald Trump's body. The man loves all people. When he's talking to you, it's like you're the only person in the room, and he gives you honor and respect. And that's the Donald Trump that I know and love, and that's why I'm supporting them.
I've heard that from so many guests we've had here and some of my personal friends in the music recording industry and Hollywood that know him, that are conservatives. They say the exact same thing. He has true love of this country. He's a great listener, and he loves everyone equally, and I think you see it when he speaks with just regular folks like yourself. David, let's get into the debates, because you can't see it, I don't think, but the lower wording right there pretty much says Trump versus Biden debate was a total bleep show. I call it the debate debacle. It was so one-sided by, and I'm not going to call him journalist, by moderator Chris Wallace, that I was disgusted. And we're going to get more into that a little bit later in the show when I tear into Chris. But give me your thoughts on when you got done watching that 97, 98 minutes of whatever it was. What was your takeaway?
My takeaway, Dan, was we saw a businessman that's patriotic, that loves his country, that's been serving his country for the last 3.5, almost 4 years. We saw him, standing up for what he believes in, standing up for America. And we saw a tired, old, used to be polished politician trying to just hang on by a thin thread and get through that 90 minutes. I know he had requested that they'd get breaks, and he wanted a break, but he didn't get that. Whether or not he had wires in there and, somebody feeding him lines or something, we don't know. But he definitely had several different instances where he just had a hard time rubbing two words together in the same sentence and had to change and correct himself. And I don't know about you, but as an American that's looking at who is going to become the next commander in chief, I don't want somebody like that behind the helm of this country with the nuclear codes and everything else. I've said it on my show all the time. If for some Hail Mary reason of a chance Joe Biden was to get into the White House, the White House would become the president, I'm pretty sure that within a matter of months, if not weeks, Kamala Harris would take the reins. And nobody wants that. Democrats didn't even want that. They didn't even vote for her. That's why she had a bailout when she did. So we can't be hoodwinked. I think the president was strong. He was direct. He called out Biden on several instances and several lies. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was debating two people, Chris Wallace and Joe Biden. So I love the president. I think he handled everything with the gumption that he has as a New York businessman that just knows how to get the job done. And that's why we support him. He has been getting the job done for 3.5 years. And that's who we need in the Oval Office, getting out of and rebounding from COVID.
Yeah, the first thing that the left always goes to is, oh, he's a bully. He interrupted. He talks over people, this, that. It's like, if you were treated the way he's been treated by the mainstream media for 4 years, over 4 years, because before he even announced, when the rumors started, the way he's been treated, and then you watch how Chris Wallace treated him to a point where he even had to ask Chris, what am I, debating you? Which I thought was a hilarious moment, because that's what I saw. Within the first 7-8 minutes, I literally was in the studio with our crew going, look at Wallace. He is biased towards, I saw it in 7 or 8 minutes, and the president had to point it out. Of course, then you have to get a little bully-ish, if you will, because you're not getting a fair shake. So I don't have a problem with him being that crass New Yorker that steps up and steps out of the norm, that doesn't act like the polished politician that we've all been used to for decades. I'm almost 46 years old. I think you and I are close same age, David. We remember watching Reagan, Mondale, Bush, and then Bush, Gore, Clinton. All the guys, they're in their suits. They're very proper. Once in a great while in the 90-minute, 2-hour debates we've had over the last few decades, they'll throw a little quip in there, a little something they get in, a little dig. Yeah. But they're very professional. Lots of, we find out, lies and promises not made or kept. Yep. And we think they're perfect. And then we learn later that they're corrupt, they lie, they do this, they do that, they've cheated on taxes and women, they've done all kinds of stuff. Yet they portray this perfect, polished politician. And Trump hasn't done that since day one. He's like, hey, I'm a New Yorker. This is who I am. I like America. I love this country. I'm here for you. I'm here for the people.
Absolutely. That's why we loved him and voted for him in 2016. And that's why I believe that he's going to have a red tsunami effect this year as well. But we can't make any mistakes about it. We've got to get up, get out and vote. Try to cast your vote in person if at all possible. We're seeing all the exposing going on of the voter fraud. That's the only shot I believe that Joe Biden has to get in the White House. Is voter fraud.
David, I'm so glad you brought that up. That was going to be my last question, and they're wrapping me up, but I want you to comment on that because that was a poignant moment last night. They brought up the voter fraud, and Chris Wallace went right step in toe with Biden and agreed there's no voter fraud. You've been talking about this forever, Mr. Trump. Mr. Biden then trying to say he was fear-mongering. I pointed out in our post-debate coverage, and I know you've seen it, just in the last week, and I don't care if it's 1 vote, 1,000, or 1,000,000 votes that are not counted properly. One is too many, it's illegal, and it's depriving us of our American God-given constitutional right. But we got stories of ballots in the trash in Pennsylvania, ballots in a ditch in Wisconsin, and now the Minneapolis police have opened the investigation, so is the DOJ, into Ilhan Omar's district in Minnesota for harvesting ballots, over 300, paying people, taking them from the elderly and these Somali refugees. So how can they stand there and say there's no voter fraud when we just had 3 cases of it reported this week alone?
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And I report that on my news. I've got 2 news sites, djhjmedia.com and davidharrisjr.com. And you can do a search for voter fraud. We try to get the news out there and let people know that, hey, this is a real issue. It's been a real issue. There was somebody else that was just exposed here in Texas. And the reason that I believe one of the other reasons why so many Democrat-controlled states are pushing for these lockdown measures is to keep people fearful, keep people frightened, and then just try to do a mail-in vote. We absolutely need integrity in this voting election season. And I think the only way we're going to get that is if people vote by mail or absentee, or to deliver their absentee to the ballot because we need to make sure that every single vote counts.
Yeah, deliver it. And that's what the president said last night. Make sure you deliver it because, and
Yes.
folks, they're wrapping me up, but I'm glad you pointed that out. There is a difference between absentee and these mass mail-out ballots. You don't
Yes.
request it. There's no signature, certification, witness, nothing needed. They're blank. They mail them out. And then they can just harvest
Yeah.
them and take them back in and check and change or throw away or whatever. So there's a huge difference. Make sure, folks, if you haven't voted, do it in person or take it and drop it. David, thank you so much for pointing that out. David Harris Jr., 5 seconds. How do they find you? Everywhere. Throw it out there. Website, social media.
David J. Harris Jr. on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or go to my website, davidharrisjr.com. You can get these flags, Trump 2020. You know, I love keeping these in my pocket, pull them out on a plane, pull them out at a restaurant. You never know when you're going to need it.
David Harris Jr.,
Store.
thank you so much, man. You're a true patriot. Thanks for standing up for conservative values. And our POTUS, you're welcome back on Real America anytime, sir.
Thank you, Dan. It's a pleasure, brother.
All right. Straight ahead, they are a conservative comic duo. They're known as the Hodge twins. Kevin and Keith Hodge join us to break down their favorite moments of last night's debate, plus talk about The Rock back in Biden. Don't go away.